The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Faster Mai, good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. Open line through till 1, so call 66 13 68. Text 166 177. WhatsApp 166 177. Email studio at manxradio.com. The floor is yours. Were you at that meeting last night? The project to redevelop the former nurses' home in Douglas. The Manx Development Corporation discussed the work on the brownfield site. It's fair to say it wasn't entirely smooth going. There were some fairly heated opinions during that meeting last night. But if you've got anything to say, it seems to be happening. They are moving somewhere. What they don't say at the moment, though, is who's going to live in the old nurses' home? And is it going to be leasehold, freehold, rented? Who's going to be living in there? How many people are going to be living in there? Are they going to be allowed to have a car? If so, where are they going to park? There's a big car park next to the old nurses' home. So presumably that will be for vehicles. But then again, as it fits into the Westmoreland Road and the Westmoreland Village, isn't the theory that there are going to be fewer cars there? Anyway, thoughts on the matter. If you were there last night, you got something to say. Terry dropped a note in, 469 Terry. I was listening to Timble this morning regarding the new ferry terminal. Did I hear the Treasury Minister say, when it opens, sometimes, perhaps never? I'm sure he didn't. I'm sure it is going to open at some point. We'll see, won't we? But as it was at the moment, it was last week, wasn't it? The Minister for Infrastructure, Mr. Crookall, said at the moment they're just sorting it out between themselves. I don't know whether the steam packet have actually signed the lease on it, but the opening of the Liverpool ferry terminal, Mr. Crookall said, was in the hands of the steam packet. Steam packets say that berthing trials had to start later than expected due to delays in the building of the facility. Mr. Crookall said it was disappointing. Well, that's one way of putting it. And thanks also to regarding this is unsigned 653. Let me see. It should be noted that the report that was referenced to was deeply flawed on a clear agenda considering the associations of the... Oh, you don't say what it's about. Is this about assisted dying? I'm sorry, 653. You're starting in the middle of something there. It was something about a report over assisted dying, which is exercising everybody at the moment. Be interesting to see what the new bishop thinks of all this. I don't think... Was she going to be there in time for Timble this year? It's not that far away. Timble Day, I think, is 6 weeks this coming Friday the 5th of July. And, of course, we'll be live there. But whether or not the new bishop will be there, whether she's going to be in situ, I don't know. Do bishops have to give notice to their employer? It would be interesting, wouldn't it? Dear Lord, can I leave in 3 months' time? I'm being facetious, of course, but we'll see if Trish the Bish will be at Tynwald Day this year. David's first with us today. Hi, David.
Hi, Andy. I couldn't go to the meeting last night because of other commitments, but I would have loved to go to the Legion Club to find out what's gone on there. And quite rightly, what you say, how are they going to be administered? Are they going to be this arm's length company which we're funding, the taxpayer funds all the time? Are the directors paid a salary? Are they paid on performance? Is the building online? Is there been any increases in costs for development and who authorised them.
Well, it seemed to be very full of nice words and kind of corporate speak about it, but there's what's the other corporate thing? Granular detail. It was a bit thin on granular detail as to who's going to live there. You know, are they going to be rented? Are they freehold? Are they leasehold? Is it for public sector workers? If so, how long are they going to be able to live there? So nobody quite know. All we know is it's being done up.
But listen, when you put a plan together and you offer it out there, you would need to know what timescale the building is going to be done. What's our customer base? Is it going to be for locals? Is it going to be for tourists or whatever? Like you say, how are they going to implement something that you can't own a car? You're right. Your human right is you can own an electric bike, a motorcycle, all these things that should be done. And we should know these things. And I do despair on these projects, these arm's length projects. The other one is Summerhill Views. You know, why can't we get the residents in from Retna Bay and other places who want to get into a more substantial place and coming towards their end of their life in comfort?
It just seems that sometimes when people speak, and I'm not saying that Dane Harrop is doing this, but sometimes when you hear things, there's more left unsaid than is said.
Well, yes, you know ourselves, they wouldn't come on the radio programme and find out. I'd love to know the salaries they're getting, what the performance is like, and those things they should know in Tynwald. And who's looking after them? If it's Treasury looking after them, do they get quarterly reports on how the developers getting together on it? Where I heard on the radio from your interviews is that we're putting the bits on the top floor, on the very top now, and they're probably just waiting for the jacuzzi to come down on the ground floor. But who is going to use it? Who's going to operate it?
Yeah.
And the biggest question I've got all the time, Andy, is I'm not a landlord, to tell you the truth. I'm not. I never own any property on that. But when you're a landlord, you have to comply with certain things. You've got to register. So is this organisation going to register? Are they going to pay fees? Are they going to be exempt? And for what reason? Yeah,
and I don't want to look on the downside, but there's something to bear in mind. This overlooks a primary school.
Yes, it does.
It overlooks Henry Bloom Noble Primary School. So that's something that you have to take into consideration.
Yeah, and the other thing I heard, there's the people who were affected in the area, and quite rightly so, their business were either stopped or they didn't even help them to go anywhere else in, say, to an industrial estate, as far as I know. And I'm sure some of the people who were at the meeting will come on and maybe tell us what their opinion was of it. Were they treated fairly? Because don't forget, the government should be treating the people fairly, and the people who have the businesses in the area, and even to say to them, we could relocate you somewhere else.
And that's the key, I think, is that, you know, fair's fair. These people have been in business for a long time. You would think that the government would just say, look, for goodwill, you would do something to help those, give them a break on something.
Yeah, and the final thing quickly I'm going to jump off then is at the sea terminal the other day there, right, at the traffic island, there's a little island there with a palm tree in it.
Yeah.
And a nice set of weeds growing all the way around it. And at that palm tree, there's a little stalk that comes out the top. Why can't somebody just tidy it up and cut that grass on the prom all the way down?
And I'll tell you something else about that island. That is one of the DOI's webcams, and it's linked to Manx Radio links into the DOI webcams. People see that from all over the world, and they see that, and you would think somebody'd pick that up. All right, have you got a campsite on Blackberry Lane this year?
Yeah, it's not us, it's old boys that do it, but I believe there's about 98 tents or teepees already up. I'll have a look this afternoon, and the rest of the fields are ready for the people to come. And can I tell you, I can't remember the guy's name. We have one German already here. He went to the northwest. He comes regular. And hopefully in the next day or so, he doesn't know it yet, this is a secret, I've got a tree for him to plant, an apple tree. And he's going to be part of the Isle of Man. And that's what I like about the TT, when you meet all these people from America and all over the world. You know, let's do something to increase their experience here, and we're not doing that.
All right, thanks for calling.
See you, boy. Bye.
Good to hear from you. And talking of Germans, has our German arrived at Dhoon Glen yet? The guy who used to have been there for years, quite a few of them used to be there, but I think we're down to one now who's resident at Dhoon Glen. I wonder if he's here yet. Howard's on now. Hi, Howard.
Yeah, Andy, just listen to David and yourself about the visitors to the island. For many years, where the funicular railway ran from Port Skillion up through to the top of Douglas Head, it's all overgrown now, but for many years there used to be a couple of lads camping there in amongst the bushes, just on the slope of the old railway. I haven't seen them this year so far, but they're about 100 yards up on the old railway where it used to be. And they were regular visitors for years, because I always saw them when I was up at the Obscura.
You can tell me, by the way, is the Camera Obscura open for the entire season now?
Yes. Every Sunday and bank holidays, the Saturday and Sunday, I'm on Sunday afternoon, weather permitting, of course, but the rest of the season it's open till end of August, September.
Okay.
It's it's an interesting little foray, especially for children. They think it's just a photograph until something flies past on the picture. Victorian flat screen tellies, a wonder of ancient science. Anyway, going back to, I think it was on your news, the Chamber of Commerce, I forget her first name, but her name was George. That's her surname. She is in charge of that, or one of the senior members, and she was on about how the APD, air passenger duty, is not helping the island. Well, this was introduced in 2017 by the UK government, not by the Manx government. It was across the board, and she said that Scotland don't pay it. This is in her news read, and the Channel Islands don't pay it, so why should the Isle of Man pay it? Well, Scotland do pay it, but because they're in the stages of independence, going through all the rituals, the air passenger duty was collected on their behalf by Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, and still is. The Isle of Man, Guernsey and Jersey, because we're not part of the United Kingdom, are classed as international. And if my memory serves me right, at the time it was introduced, our Treasury Minister, who coincidentally is our First Minister, Alf Cannon. And I remember his words plainly, that if we don't collect it, then the UK government will. So even if it's only just passing through our Treasury, we're getting a feel of the money and a possible use of it. So I wish this lady would look up the facts first before putting misinformation out there, because she's saying that the air passenger duty is having a detrimental effect on various aspects of the hospitality scene. And I don't know whether it's her family that have a well-known hotel on the island, a very good hotel, I must say this. But if she's going to give information like that, please also, as it's an air passenger duty, the steam packet and everybody that comes in through on the steam packet do not pay it. So it's not going to have a major effect. And it's only for, well, there's two categories. One where you're flying 0 to 2,000 miles, and then from 2,000 miles onwards, it's a different rate. But will she please look up the information? I see it's been taken down off the website. So whether somebody's realised that it was incorrect and it's misinformation. But the airport passenger duty, say as far as I can remember, and it was in 2017/18 that it was introduced, and it was across the whole of the United Kingdom, Britain. But as I say, we are not part of it, so we collect it here.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that, Howard. Thanks for calling.
Take care. Bye now.
Good to hear from you. Kay said, Andy, I was reading the Courier this week regarding Noble's Hospital apparently preparing for the TT. Noble seems to be singing and dancing for this fortnight. So why isn't it like this all year round to support people on the Isle of Man? I was in a few years ago, and I was discharged before TT, so the beds will be available. Thought it was terrible, says Kay. Well, they do have to prepare for TT, but with the point taken, though. Chris in London said, Andy, Klaus is safe and well at the Dhoon, so when you drive by the Dhoon, you see the tent, give Klaus a toot of the horn. They've arrived at Dhoon, 3 tents at the Dhoon this year. Thank you for that. And also WhatsApper on 831 and 883. Yes, they're all there. 180 TPs are up at Blackberry Lane, and Axel is listening to you. Thank you from the lads at the Blackberry Lane campsite. So we wish you well, and everybody who's got a campsite this year. Let's just hope we don't get torrential rain. I don't want to jinx it, but let's just hope, because nobody likes a muddy campsite. And Juan's on now. Hi, Juan.
Hey, Andy. Is that Klaus Schwab that's down at the Dhoon, is it? Or is
I
it
don't think it's
Klaus?
That Klaus. No, it's another Klaus.
How was your Manxman experience?
I slept very well on the Manxman, by the way, last night. It was very nice.
Good. So you didn't do the Elvis Presley impression and all shook up.
No, it was absolutely flat calm from Heysham, and got in nice and early this morning, about 6 o'clock, I think it was.
Good. The meeting last night, Manx Development Corporation at the Liberal Mannin. Very interesting. A lot of points raised, and a lot of contentious issues. Dane was thrown to the wolves. It was first appearance since the first government conference, I think. It's the first time that they've wheeled Dane out to the public. So, yes, he got to answer quite a few questions, and a couple of the points that was made. I asked a question on the green loan and the payback for it, and there was a lot of cross questions on that. On the payment back in comparison to the bill quality, or the actual bill price. So they were going about the price of the build, and the what conditions I asked for the loan, what conditions there was. Excuse me, I was just interrupted by someone. The conditions for the green loan, and my point was, what did they have to go through for the green loan? And
what did they say?
Yeah, it was very. Dane tried to answer, but there was. Dane tried to answer, but there was. Andy, I'm just going to phone you back. Just got a little bit of a problem. Sorry about that.
Jolly good. I don't know who was knocking at the door, but thank you, Juan. It's good to hear from you. Eddie's with us now. Eddie, nobody's knocking on your window, are they?
Only the debt collectors.
Oh.
How are you doing? All right?
Fine, yes. You well, and yourself?
Yes, a lot better. Yep. I was on, I phoned in on Friday, but you were very busy. I didn't get on again. Excuse me. I missed yesterday's show completely. I was working. But on Friday, I was listening to everything, and just generally lately, and also with the people out here, the thing that crops up all the time, everybody keeps saying it on the show, is they do not have any faith in the government. They don't trust them, so forth. You know, it seems very, very general, doesn't it? Over and over again, people are saying the same thing.
Well, the thing is, Eddie, I mean, I don't know where this comes from, because if you bother looking at any news from anywhere else, nobody seems to have confidence in any government. In the United States, in England, and Britain's in turmoil at the moment, not knowing when they're going to have an election. So I was talking to somebody over the weekend, and they reckoned it's because there's no money. They reckon when everything's fine and when everybody's got lots of money, then nobody has that many problems. But at the moment, the financial tide seems to have gone out and everybody seems to be pointing at one another.
I think you're probably right there, which is probably why they get upset when they see money wasted. That's summing that one up. But there was something else on the show, which is what I wanted to get at last Friday, which was Julian came on and he was pointing out that there was an area in Ireland where the onshore wind turbine has been turned down. And the reasons were it's a place of outstanding beauty and it would damage the environment. Well, we've got that here on the Isle of Man, plus numerous other umpteen different things. But the point I want to get at is this. We've done our bit to try and tell the public about what is wrong with wind farms anyway. They're not green, so on. But just recently, the MUA are doing a monitoring the wind, which is supposed to take 2 years, but I think they're trying to run theirs through in 6 months. Not sure. The bird survey was going on whilst they were drilling, so on. Nobody has got faith in what results are going to come out from this MUA. I don't think at all. Everybody I speak to say it'll be a farce and we'll have to accept it. But one thing I'd like people to do if they want to, this is just to accept common sense and their own opinion, is if they went up to the Eristane area at all in the month of May, right, which is a very, very significant thing, the month of May. How much wind have we had this month? I think we'd have been paying an awful lot of money out for extra electricity because there's not been enough wind.
Well, they always reckon that it averages out.
Well, let me tell you this, right? Their monitors will say there was enough wind this month, but what I was going to do was tell the public there's an easy way of taking their own example. We have buzzards in that area every single day. And when buzzards fly, they encircle. Now, any wind up there will show itself immediately. With one side of the circle, it will go faster than the other. Well, in the month of May, it's been perfect circles. That's one way of telling if there's any wind up there. They're going to give you the excuse that there's wind up there, but you can't feel it down there. I walked over there one day last week just to have another good look round and everything, and there'd been a kill by a hawk or something, and there was feathers all over the place on top of the gorse, and they weren't blowing away. There wasn't enough wind to actually blow a feather away. Somewhere along the line, they're going to have to show these results, and we are going to bring our results as well, because we're monitoring, like I've said, and we'll compare them. And for someone, I don't know why I doubt theirs, but I'm just like everybody else. I will doubt them. We have got our own results, and this shouldn't be for 6 months only anyway. It's got to be 2 years. And like you pointed out before, it should be an overall figure that we come to. They'll give you all sorts of spiel like they have done at every single meeting that we've gone to. But the people out there should just look at this month alone. If we'd have been relying on battery power and wind turbines, which would have cost us about £2 billion of taxpayers' money, we would have had to go to alternative. Like, did they say it's going to cost us X amount of money for a new line from England or Scotland? We would have had to buy electricity from them.
Mm-hmm. Well, how much are they saying for the wind turbines? Isn't it about 50 million or so?
Yeah, but that's for 5. Initially, the MUA did say that to make the Isle of Man self-sufficient, we would need between 100 and 110.
Well, I mean, do you think they were just saying that? Were they just flying a kite or what? You don't think they were serious, do you?
I think they were serious, but they were sorry that they actually put that figure out.
Okay.
I mean, you look everywhere else. All you've got to do is look around the world and have a look how many it takes to get the electricity they want.
All right. Okay. Appreciate that, Eddie. We got to dash on.
Okay.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for that. Lots of people, some people waiting, and also tons of messages to get through. Frank, who's a Frank Lloyd. Hi, Frank. My wife and I are from across. We come every year. We spend a couple of months on the beautiful Isle of Man. As your previous listener said, the first thing we see as we disembark from the boat is the weeds. And also the weeds along the sunken garden. It's the same as last year. And a note in also said, why don't they use that grassed off area on Loch Promenade, the wilding bit there where the horse tram tracks are going to go? Why don't they use that as a temporary campsite? Well, there you go, thinking again. And thanks. I've had the photos in, by the way, of the Deutsche Dhoon. Thank you, Simon. The Deutsch encampment at the Dhoon is looking very good. Doesn't matter what the government decides, if it doesn't suit the agenda of civil servants, they don't implement it. Same as the UK, that's my opinion, says Mary.
Heating oil for homes, powering farms and businesses, keeping you moving with petrol stations across the island. Ellen Vannin Fuels. Call us on 844000. Following a cardiac arrest, for every minute that passes without action, the chance of survival falls by 10%. However, act within 3 minutes using CPR and defibrillator, and the chance of survival can be as high as 70%. A St. John Ambulance CPR and defibrillator course teaches the essential skills required and gives students the confidence to know what to do in this kind of emergency. Find out more. Call St. John Ambulance today on 674 387.
It's time to start enjoying the garden. And from barbecues to garden furniture and machinery, tools and plants, Riley's Garden Centre has everything you need. Call Road Braddon and rileys.co.im or follow them on Facebook or Instagram.
No matter how much you need to dig or how much you want to dump, Fox Group Isle of Man offer an extensive range of plant hire, long-term lease and sales. We're the island's exclusive supplier for Louis Gong excavators with immediate delivery. Our machinery comes with a complete service package with finance plan options. Call John on 458946 to discuss your plant needs. Fox Group Isle of Man, part of the Fox Group of companies.
Tonight at 6 o'clock here on Manx Radio, join Kiri Kermode and myself, Simon Clark, for Countryside.
We hear from Zoe Hampton, the Secretary of the Southern District Agricultural Show, in the preparations on the upcoming event.
Rob and David Cool from Ballagorn Farm down the south of the island are one of 5 regional finalists in the Silver Lapwing Award run by FWAG. I went along to listen to the guest speakers and also get a chat with them at the end.
That's all in Countryside tonight here on Manx Radio at 6 o'clock. And don't forget, you can download and subscribe to the podcast for free at manxradio.com.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
26 minutes before 1 in news all about the customs at the sea terminal. This is it's time everybody had to show ID when travelling on the boat. You got to do it on the plane and other places, so it's time they caught up. No checks at the sea terminal, I think personally, is ridiculous. Am I the only person who's frustrated with this green agenda, says Ian over here, which appears to be aimed at a significant loss of people's individual freedom of movement by ultimately phasing out the motor vehicle to be replaced by electric vehicles, which ultimately will only be affordable to the wealthy. Clearly, the proletariat are only going to be allowed to huddle together in buses in the future. What's more, the pollution spewed out into the atmosphere by countries like India and China and Russia dwarfs anything the little Isle of Man will ever do. Cheers, says Ian. And Juan's on now. What was it, Juan? What was being delivered?
No comment, Andy. Apologies to the listeners. Sometimes you have to prioritise. Just getting my thread back on the meeting last night. My question was, and I put this on the radio a little while ago about the green loan, and my question to Dane was, what conditions have they had to go through to get the green loan? Was there conditions for the net zero, carbon, all this, etc., etc.? And the answer was really yes, but there was no actual in-depth specifics given on that. But yes, they are following certain criteria on the bill to do that, and some of the stuff is going to be common sense. But obviously, the bill has gone up again now, and as one of the members in the audience pointed out, the payback on the loan doesn't really add up to the amount of rent that they would have to charge for these. And Dane specifically said that the rents wouldn't be over £1,300 a month for these units. So there was a lot of questioning. I think people still went out a little bit vague. They tried to answer some of the questions, but as Dane said, that this could be a catalyst. And as we all know, we've had a lot of catalysts in the last couple of years to move things along in certain directions. So I'm just wondering where this catalyst is. I mean, he talked about moving into different areas. So I don't know whether specifically they're looking at brown site areas, brownfield areas, or whether they're looking at rebuilding in central Douglas.
The thing is, behind the scenes, because, I mean, the people in the Manx Development Corporation, they're all cute cookies. People like David Peach and Sean Gilbert, they know what they're talking about. These guys have, been in business for a long time. I'm sure behind the scenes, nothing is vague, but this seems to be vague.
It does, and again, if there's a lack of transparency to the public, then obviously, some people obviously know where this is heading or where they want it to head. But the confusion is that there's a bit of obscurity to the public of where this is going. As your previous caller just mentioned about cars and all the screen agenda, which is behind a lot of this stuff. Unfortunately, this is the problem: is the whole green agenda, and how much value do we actually put to that? In so much as how much this is all going to cost us to live in the future, and is it necessary? I think that's the big question. There was only one minister there last night. There was a minister from the Coven, which was Laurie Hooper, was there, obviously because he's Liv Vannin. There was no other ministers there, but I'm sure you'll get some feedback. Stephen was there, that comes on this programme, and Julian was there, so I'm sure you'll get some feedback from them as well on different questions.
Okay.
One other thing I just wanted to mention before I go, which is what I wanted to come on about last week, and that was the sex education. Now, there's been quite a few news reports about the UK last week actually going back and changing a lot of the sex education criteria, and also with reference to what parents can see, what parents know in advance about what they're teaching the children. So there's obviously been a lot of pushback in the UK for the government to do this, and there's just been some radical changes. My question is now, I believe that this government is still going to go ahead with using the Scottish curriculum. So I would like to know from the Green Goddess of Education what specifics there is now on putting parents aware of what their children are getting taught. I do think it's important that sex education comes back before anyone comes on and starts texting about it. What my main thing is about this whole woke movement of bombarding us with transgenderism and teaching of transgenderism and all that kind of stuff with younger children who are not an appropriate age. And that's my concern about this. So it would be nice to get some feedback from the Minister as to where they're heading with this, considering the changes that are taking place in the UK.
Okay, thanks, Stuart.
Take care, Andy.
All right, it's 21 minutes before 1. Off to unwrap his parcel. And Julian's on now. Were you there last night, Julian?
I was, Andy. And I'm just going to add a quick one in because I'm sure other people may well want to ring in, so I'll make it short. One of the answers that was forthcoming I found interesting. Now, you know that the nurses' home is quite a long, big building, isn't it? It's a big lump, that place.
Oh, crikey, yeah. Well, I've always found it a beautiful building. I love the design of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of iconic, really. I suppose it's not surprising they've kept it. However, it was disclosed last night that 2 whole floors were found to have had asbestos in the glue holding the floor tiles down.
Right.
We were told that it wasn't possible to remove it, and it's been covered in just half an inch of concrete screed. It wasn't clear which type. However, historically, the UK has always used serpentine, which is otherwise known as crystotile or white asbestos, which was banned in the UK in 1999. a consequence of inhaling asbestos over a long period of time is something called mesothelioma, which is a lung lining cancer. I'm just surprised that such a thin screed has been used to encapsulate the 2 floors because, people tend to sort of drill things and put things in, and makes you wonder if that might be a problem in the future.
Well, we don't know we don't know what are the terms of the tenants, whether they're going to be renting, buying, leasing, whether they got fixed term tenancies. We don't know who they're going to be. I mean, it's easily to put into the terms of a tenancy is that you can't do anything. You can't change the look of the place, and you can't replace stuff. So from that, I knew they were having problems with asbestos. I didn't know it was in the glue.
Yeah, the floor tiles, but 2 floors. how long is that building? It's big.
Oh, it's a couple of 100 feet long, isn't it? At least 60 yards.
And I'm sure people who have rented properties out before with very stringent restrictions on doing stuff to them have ended up with the tenants actually ignoring that. I'm not saying it's a regular thing, but it can happen. So it just makes you wonder, from a health and safety point of view, I wonder how that one got through, because most other businesses, I'm not sure if they'd get away with something of that scale.
What did you think of the meeting last night?
Yeah, it was interesting. Quite impassioned, obviously, from people who feel that they've been really shoved out from what they clearly didn't think was a brownfield site, because they were up and running and operating right there. So it seems that the tenure of it was that a lot of people felt that MDC are being given opportunities and leeway that any other normal business would not get. Doors are being opened that would never normally be open. So probably, Paul Weatherall quite rightly said that he wants FOIs opened up for the steam packet and MDC, and there's absolutely no cogent reason as to why that would not be feasible.
Did they reply as to why they think that not being FOIable is they thought that was a good idea?
Well, no, it's a straight answer would be nice on this one. I cannot see, this idea that you have an arm's length company that is not then subject to scrutiny when we're paying for it anyway. No matter how you couch it, arm's length, it still means, the Treasury is the shareholder. Perhaps Alex Allinson should answer the question as to how do you come to the conclusion that the public are not entitled to know about details of this when we're paying for it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Julian.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers.
Good to hear from you. And thanks also to the parent. Actually, this was back in April. A parent who's got a child at Peel Cloth Workers sent me the letter that had been sent to parents regarding PHSC and RSE, the sex education curriculum. And it was about PHSC, RSE lessons starting for Year 6 children as part of the area of Peel Cloth Workers curriculum covering aspects of puberty, reproduction and conception, along with pregnancy and birth. They reckon the lessons will be of great benefit to all children, allowing them to develop new knowledge, understanding and the opportunity to ask questions in a safe environment. Class teachers providing straightforward answers to ensure children receive information which is as accurate as possible. Pupils whose questions go unanswered may turn to the appropriate sources of information. Specific content information can actually be found at Peel Cloth Workers website, which is sch.im/Peel Cloth Workers, all one word, all lowercase, sch.im/Peel Cloth Workers. And they go on to say that as a parent or a carer, you have the right to either withdraw your child from these lessons or to allow them to take part. And they, at the time in April, they were asking anybody who had any queries to contact the school to discuss them. So that's where we are at the moment. Open line today through to 1. Tomorrow it's all about football. And where have FC Isle of Man come from and where are they going to? Forward with the Ravens tomorrow. Jill Christian is the chair of FC Isle of Man. Of course, a fair footballer herself as one time. I think she represented the Isle of Man in the Island Games. And director of football, Lee Dixon. himself a fair footballer. So tomorrow we'll be talking about FC Isle of Man. If you go to see FC Isle of Man, if you come rain or shine, there are many there at the bowl. We'll be talking about what's going to happen at FC Isle of Man. I mean, really, how far can they go? What is the aim of FC Isle of Man? With the chair and the director of football tomorrow on Mannin Line. Be good to hear from you tomorrow.
Go faster for less with Manx Telecom. Upgrade to our first-class fibre and you can save over £200. For a limited time only, you can sign up to a 30 megabit plan and get 100 megabits. Or pay for 100 and get 200. Forget economy class internet and experience the luxury of first-class fibre. See mt.im/fibre for details, terms and conditions.
The fabulous Fire Pit Outdoor Eating Range is brilliant for the barbecue and is available now from ShopRite. The ready for whatever the weather frozen selection, any 2 for £6. Or in the chillers, any 2 for £8. Add to that a great selection of salads, sides and snacks. We also sell charcoal and picnicware, so you can create the perfect barbecue feast all in one place. Get set for the racing at ShopRite, Onchan, Peel and Ramsey.
Drive smarter, drive more reliable, drive a great deal at Mannin Motors. With a superb range of cars for every budget, always available. And if we don't have it, we'll source it. Plus, servicing, valeting and prestige detailing too. Mannin Motors, Richmond Hill, Douglas. Find us on Facebook or call 420 420. That's 420 420. Drive a better bargain at Mannin Motors.
Tune in and chill out with Chris Pearson on Manx Radio.
Make the most of those long, light evenings with the Manx Radio Chill Out Show, Sunday nights from 7. Whether you're relaxing at home, out and about, or rounding off your work ends, you'll be more than welcome. Check out the tunes and email chill@manxradio.com.
The Sunday Chill Out. Chris Pearson, Manx Radio. The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Peter's with us. Hi, Peter.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. Yeah, what's on your mind?
It's just a concern. It might be something and nothing, but it could save a road traffic accident. Basically what it is as you come from Nobles, from their roundabout to go, say, out to Peel, across the Strand Crossroads, they've erected... not erected, it's just green lights for a zebra crossing, so anybody wanting to cross can press it and it'll go to red. But right after that, about 2 yards, if that, or not even that, there's the roundabout. And I had my daughter in, she was from across, and we were going down there, and she says, the lights are on green, go on, what are you stopping for? I says, well, it stops the other side. I says, I got foxed the first time with it. And basically you go roundabout just after the zebra crossing. The zebra crossings are on green 90% of the time. So any holiday maker who doesn't know the area might come across, or bikes or Germans, and just think, oh, on green, carry on. And there's no lights the other side.
Oh, I see. So it's a pedestrian, it's not a zebra crossing, it's a pedestrian crossing.
Yeah, I should imagine. Well, they've got green lights.
Green lights, yeah. So it's
at the end of the housing estate. And then there's the roundabout.
And how far away is the roundabout from it?
It's right next to it. You're right on it. Once you go across them lights, you have to, it's the length of a van to stop.
So that's where the confusion could come. Some people may think that that's a green light just to go straight into the roundabout.
Yeah, well, I did the first time I came across it, and so did my daughter when she was over for a few days. She just, go on. And the point is that it's too near, and there is a sign if you're doing 10 mile an hour on the floor which says pedestrian crossing. But I mean, if you're in a pack of bikes and you're going along there and you might be a bit lively, you're not going to stop and read it or slow down that much. It's just a potential accident, I think.
Okay.
But it needs something looking at. Now, if you put it through to the highway board, it might take a long time before it hits the right spot.
Well, let's just hope nothing goes wrong, because that's one way that would happen. It would be looked at if anything went wrong, but let's hope it doesn't.
Yeah, but if you ever drive that way yourself, you'll see what I mean.
Okay, all right, appreciate that, Peter.
Thank you very much.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for that. It's 10 to 1 now. Bonzo's with us now. Hi, Bonzo.
Hi there, yes. Just a couple of points very quickly. First off, listening to Dhoon, who's up to his old misogynistic tricks again. Hearing him describe Daphne Kane as one of the coven, the green goddess, etc., etc., in a belittling and patronising fashion. You ask any woman who is on your staff, who is there up at the station with you, what those comments sound like to them, and they will say misogynistic. And they will say that they're the sort of comments that are not the place of a public service broadcaster to broadcast.
Wasn't he talking about, didn't he mention Laurie Hooper? Didn't he say it was Laurie Hooper?
No, I don't think he was referring to Laurie Hooper as one of the coven. No, it was about Daphne Kane, he thinks. But going on to a next one, Eddie and his usual bout of misinformation of, the wind farm at Eriestone will cost £2 billion, whatever. Perhaps he and his associates, and also MUA, might like to comment on some reliable skeet that I'd heard about various incidents between those objectors at Eriestone and MUA staff and the people from Wardle Associates, I think, who are doing the wind assessment and such like.
Yeah, I've heard tell of raised voices and things like that.
Oh no! I've heard tell of much more sort of close quarters intimidation, whereby the police have had to be called, and people have had warnings on multiple occasions. And I think that's something that your news desk really ought to talk to MUA about, and really ought to talk to Eriestone about. And then perhaps we might get the facts about how these kind of people operate.
Interesting. Well, and that's certainly a call we'll put in if anything official has been said, or if there has been any intimidation of any sort, then I'm sure everybody would want to know about it.
Absolutely.
Okay, appreciate that. Thanks for that, Bonzo.
Okay then, thanks.
Good to hear from you. We've been talking about this Manx Development Corporation, big organisation aiming to revitalise our brownfield sites. And let's face it, we got plenty of them. This meeting last night, sadly I wasn't there, and if you weren't there, Phil Gorn was there.
Dane Harrop, Managing Director of the Manx Development Corporation, was the guest speaker. He was keen to explain how his organisation is meeting government's remit to develop brownfield sites across the island.
We're progressing well. The nurses' home is well on. I've highlighted some nice progress shots there where we've got large bits of steel coming out of the roof now, which is creating the fifth floor, which is the additional story that we're adding onto the nurses' home. Internally now we're plastering. So, Q1 of next year, that project will be complete, and hopefully everyone will see it in its glory and show what we can do. Actually, so it's great to have something there as a shop window for ourselves. Obviously, it's been a shop window covered in scaffold for the last couple of years, but development does take time. So talk really about the update on that project.
It's all well and good having worthy and warm ambition and objectives, but actually delivering something is that's the seeing is believing thing, isn't it?
Completely. We've had some really good images of that project. There's been a lot of press around what we're looking to do, and there's been a lot of projects over the years that have had nice images, but we've never actually seen them come to fruition. So for us, when we see that project complete in the first quarter of next year, there'll be no prouder person than myself sat here. But take the nurses' home as an example. That was a building that's been sat there for a number of years. We're converting it into 37 apartments. That's 37 more apartments that are paying rates, people around the area using the shops, using restaurants, commercial unit on the ground floor. So it all brings, like you say, an improvement to the area, and hopefully it has that catalyst to improve a wider area. Really, the nurses' home is seen as phase one of the wider redevelopment of the Westmoreland Road area with our Westmoreland Village project, and that's progressing now. We've had a successful planning committee back in February. as I've outlined at the meeting, we're still currently with the AGs working through the legal elements before that becomes a formal approval, but we're hopeful that once that formal approval comes through, we can start cracking on. And again,
there he is. Something you don't hear very often on Mannin Line, the voice of Dane Harrop. We've invited members of the Manx Development Corporation to come on to Mannin Line, just have a chat, tell us the good news about what it is they're doing. Sadly, the invitation seems to have been lost in the post, but the invitation remains open. If anybody from Manx Development Corporation would like to come in, have a chat, speak to the audience, to you, the audience of Mannin Line, they're more than welcome. Please put out a warning, says Alice in Port Erin, to the gentleman who stopped his car on the upper promenade in Port Erin, that next time I see him putting his empty bottles in the roadside rubbish bin, I'll take his photo and let him know there are recycling bins about 150 yards up the hill. Kind regards, Alice. Thank you for that. Thanks also to the many people who are saying that they love the TT, but it's looking a bit tired at the moment. The Isle of Man is looking decidedly unpainted and unswept. Don't worry, we've got 5 or so days. Of course, pre-TT starts at Belawn this coming Friday. I mentioned it's FC Isle of Man. Tomorrow, Jill Christian and Lee Dixon will be on. Jill is chair of FC Isle of Man and Lee is director of football. This coming Friday, chairman of the Housing and Communities Board, David Ashford, MHK, is on Manx Radio. Now, housing is probably one of the hottest topics on Mannin Line. The provision of housing, affordable housing, and everything that goes with it affects lives from start to finish. The provision of housing for elderly, provision of housing for families with young babies and young children. So we'll see what Mr. Ashford has to say this coming Friday. Thank goodness the Isle of Man climate change emergency has passed, as indicated by DOI's policy of buying 150 new diesel and petrol vehicles. That's not true, is it? No matter what the government decides, if it doesn't suit the agenda of those civil servants, it's not going to happen, says Mary. Just past Hango Hill, says David, the buttercups are in full bloom, very photogenic. Lovely. That's it. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones today.
WINT